On that Thursday, when I finished loading my tools into my pickup truck, I was not in the best mood. The client I had been working with for the past 2 weeks seemed to have no idea what he wanted. He kept asking me to make one change after another to the original plan for the staircase I was supposed to build under the contract. The latest request, made that morning, was so extensive that I had to dismantle about half of the work I had already done. To make matters worse, I had to go back to the architect and engineer because the latest whim of this fickle jerk was impossible to implement without redrawing the structural drawings. So the next day became an unplanned day off. My name is Garrett Morrison. I am the chief designer and owner of a small carpentry workshop specializing in the design and construction of luxury staircases. My clients are wealthy owners of mansions, hotels, restaurants, and offices who can afford to pay more than $50,000 for an exclusive staircase that is a work of art. I just turned 34 and had been married for 4 years to 29-year-old Daphne Tupper. Daphne was a young and successful lawyer at the law firm Kramer, Boylan & Hendricks, specializing in commercial law and intellectual property law. We didn't have any children yet, mainly because Daphne wanted to focus on her career first. I was surprised to see my wife's car in the driveway when I got home at 4:30 p.m. Daphne usually worked late on Thursdays, so she could finish at a reasonable hour on Fridays. I entered the house through the back door, as I always did when I returned from the construction site. I had installed a small bathroom with a shower next to the door so that I could shower and change immediately after coming home without spreading dust throughout the house. The water pressure was weaker than usual. Maybe my wife was taking a shower upstairs? That was strange because Daphne usually took showers in the morning or before bed. I quickly finished up, put on my house clothes, and went upstairs to see what my wife was doing at such an early hour on a Thursday. As expected, Daphne had just gotten out of the shower and was now putting on sexy black fishnet stockings, and a new black dress was lying on the bed, waiting its turn to be worn. "Hi, honey. What are you up so early? Did I forget something? Do we have plans today that I don't remember?" She looked at me with an expression I had never seen on her face before. She seemed a little nervous, but was trying not to show it. She sighed. "No, Garrett, you didn't forget anything. I'm leaving tonight. You're not coming with me. I'll be back Sunday afternoon. I'm spending the weekend with Derek Kramer." "What? What are you talking about? Is this a business trip or something?" "No, it's not a business trip, Garrett. Derek booked a hotel room for the two of us. I'll be back with you next week, but I'm spending the weekend with him." She looked at me defiantly, but her words sounded rehearsed. "No, you're not going. I don't want my wife spending the weekend with another man. What kind of nonsense is this?" "You'd better agree, Garrett, because this is what Derek wants, and I advise you not to mess with him," she said, giggling. "Oh, I see. You're happy to be part of this plan? You want me to agree, swallow it, and let you go? So after this weekend, you'll be my faithful wife?" I asked sarcastically. "I never said it would only be this weekend. Derek already told me he wants to do this from time to time, so yeah, just agree and don't say a word. Knowing Derek, your life will be much easier if you shut up and follow the plan." "We'll see. I'm not going to put up with this nonsense, Daphne. You'd better think about what you're doing, because I'm not going to let that arrogant jerk run my life. If you think I'm a pawn, you can move around as you please without asking my opinion. You're in for a rude awakening, I'm telling you." By that time, she had finished getting ready for the evening. I went downstairs and grabbed a beer from the fridge. I saw the Mercedes pull up to the house. Mr. Smug himself got out of the car, walked up to the front door, and rang the doorbell. "Garrett, it's Derek, open the door," she shouted from above. I quickly entered the code on the back door alarm panel, turned on the video recording on my cell phone, and hid it in my t-shirt pocket so that the camera would capture everything that was happening. Then I waited in the living room. I had known Derek Kramer since the day Daphne started working at CBH 3 years ago. I first met him at their office Christmas party. He was a man in his 40s with a very authoritative personality. He seemed very friendly with his partners, flirtatious and affable with the female employees and their wives, but in the presence of his employees and their husbands, his entire demeanor exuded arrogance and contempt. I didn't like this guy right away. Daphne ran down the stairs in a rage. She went to open the door. I watched the scene from the living room, sipping my beer. "Sorry to keep you waiting, Derek. I don't know where my husband's manners have gone," she said in a submissive tone. She lowered her voice to say something else to Asaya, but I couldn't hear her. "Hey, Dusty. I hear you've got a problem with Daphne going away with me for the weekend?" He boomed like a school principal addressing a small child as he entered the living room to talk to me. I couldn't believe the nerve of this guy. He was so smug, he thought he owned my house. "Hey, asshole, get out of my house or I'll call the police," I said, clenching my fists. He started laughing. Daphne grinned next to him. "And what do you think the police will do? I'll tell you, nothing. They won't do anything. You know why? Because, hey, are you filming me, asshole?" He had just seen my cell phone. He grabbed it from me and tried to stop the recording, but the phone was locked with a password. He threw it on the ceramic floor. Of course, the ceramic won. "Listen to me, smartass. Your wife is coming with me for the weekend, whether you like it or not. And she's going to spend time with me whenever I want. And no, a dumbass like you has no say in the matter, got it? And if you do anything to stop me, you'll regret it. Hell will be paradise compared to your life. So you're going to sit here quietly this weekend and keep your mouth shut. If I hear that you've upset Daphne, threatened her with divorce, or done anything else stupid, like trying to contact my wife, everyone will find out about your shady money laundering operations and the child pornography stored on your computer." I decided to play dumb. I doubt anyone will find out. Considering that I've never been involved in money laundering, downloaded, or even looked at child pornography, I replied mechanically. "Oh, that's easy to arrange, you know. Downloading material onto your computer is a piece of cake. I have plenty of things that could destroy your reputation in an instant." I decided this was a good opportunity to play even dumber. "Child pornography is illegal. If you can download it onto my computer, then you already have illegal material, right?" I asked naively. "That's the difference between you and me. Some things that are illegal for you are perfectly acceptable for influential people like me who have the right connections. So I strongly recommend that you continue to play with the working class and not bother people from high society, understand?" I could hardly believe what I had just heard. Such nonsense would be over the top even in a comedy movie, but this guy in my living room was completely serious. "Oh, and one more thing. Don't think about getting revenge on me or Daphne. That includes getting revenge on her by sleeping with someone else. I don't want to catch anything from you and then you pass it on to Daphne and then I catch it, you know? Because I'm not going to ask Daphne to deny you sex, honestly. At least not yet. See, I'm not such a bad guy, right? The point is, if you cross the line, I'll find out. Got it? Now go on, sweetheart." They returned to the front door. Daphne grabbed her bag and left. She didn't say goodbye or even look at me. Sweetheart. He called my wife sweetheart. The whole situation was so surreal that I couldn't even feel pure anger. My feelings were more of a mixture of anger and amazement. At that moment, I blessed the burglar who broke into my house a year before I met Daphne. I was so upset that I installed a complete video surveillance and alarm system with motion-activated cameras and voice-activated microphones that could record everything that happened in the house and store the recordings in the cloud. I never showed Daphne that the system could be switched to recording mode when we were in the house, so she had no way of knowing that I had turned it on before she opened the front door to let that slimy bastard in. I also turned on the recording on my cell phone. In reality, it was more of a distraction. I was more or less counting on Kramer noticing this and finding a way to turn off the recording. That would make him lower his guard and talk more freely, thinking he wasn't being filmed anymore. I hoped it would be a good way to gather useful material for a possible divorce. That bastard gave me way more than I expected. The cell phone now lying on the floor was my work phone. After I started working with more affluent clients, I quickly realized that if I gave them my main phone number, I would be on call almost around the clock, because some of these people are like children. When they want something, they want it right away. In their minds, there was no such thing as an inconvenient time to call, even after 11 p.m. or on weekends. I could turn off my work cell phone at the end of the day and read my messages the next morning. At least I wasn't completely cut off from communication. I grabbed my personal phone and called my business lawyer and best friend, Harry. Harry Davenport had married my older sister, Jennifer, 10 years ago. They were the perfect happy couple until tragedy struck. They had been married for 4 years when Jennifer, while traveling with 3 friends in Guadeloupe, was caught in a deadly wave and drowned. My parents and I loved Harry, and even after my sister's death, he always remained part of our family. 3 years after Jennifer's death, he met another woman. Christine is a fantastic woman, whom he married a year after they met. My parents and I, along with Daphne, were invited to the wedding. To this day, Harry and Christine are like brother and sister to me. "Harry, I need your help," I shouted when he answered. I explained the situation to him. I repeated the threats Kramer had made before leaving with my wife for the weekend. Harry understood the threats. "Okay, don't leave the house, don't call anyone, don't answer the phone, and don't open the door to strangers, and turn off your computer. Christine and I will be there in an hour. We'll bring dinner." I deleted everything that was left on my work cell phone, grabbed another beer, and sat down in the living room to calm down after the events of the last hour. I knew Daphne was attracted to Dickhead, or rather, she was attracted to the aura of power he exuded, but I never thought she would dump me like a piece of trash and leave with him. I thought she loved me as much as I loved her. This was a loud wake-up call. I met Daphne 5 years ago at a party thrown by a friend of a friend. I don't even remember how I ended up there that night. I only knew 1 or 2 people. The birthday boy was Daphne's brother's best friend, who couldn't come because he was in the army and had been sent to Afghanistan. I spent the whole evening talking to Daphne. A week later, we started dating, and a year later, we were married. At the time, I was still working for Mr. Duncan. Craig Duncan was the founder of a small company. He was an excellent carpenter and well known in our neighborhood. But his accounting and management skills were practically non-existent. He hired me as a part-time accountant to do his bookkeeping while I was still in college. A couple of months after I started working for him, he got 3 large orders that he couldn't handle at the time, but his customers didn't want to cancel. So he asked me to fill in for him and help him out on the job. I started out as an assistant, running errands, ordering supplies, and keeping track of the long details he had to work with. But I was a quick learner, and it turned out I had a real talent for the work, so after a few months of training, I was able to handle the simple tasks on my own and help with the more complicated ones. I obtained my accounting degree, but since I really enjoyed the practical work, I also started an internship and obtained my certification a few years later. Soon I became Mr. Duncan's assistant, and when he retired, my parents helped me by providing the money to buy out his share in 2 years. I knew very well that the lawyers at CBH considered me uneducated, a dusty worker, and did not think highly of me, but I didn't care. My company was thriving. I didn't bid on many projects, but the ones I took on were complex and very profitable. Over the previous months, I had hired 2 assistants, and my net income and value were higher than most of the lawyers working with my wife. But even she didn't know that. My thoughts were interrupted by Christine and Harry, who brought Chinese takeout and beer. "Are you okay, Garrett? I can't believe Daphne did that to you. It's so unlike her." Harry gave me a manly hug. "Don't worry, buddy, we'll work it out. Let's have dinner, and then I'll watch your recording." I told them about the cold reception Daphne had given me when I got home that afternoon. After dinner, I took my laptop and opened the files with the recordings from the 2 cameras and the microphone. Fortunately, the conversations were very clear. "I can't believe what I just heard," Harry said. "Pretty arrogant bastard, huh?" "No, Pretty stupid bastard, Harry replied. How old is he? 40 to 42? That means he's been practicing law for about 15 years, so he's not a rookie. But he's so smug that it doesn't even occur to him that sometimes you just need to shut up. Seriously, your idea to trick him into thinking he wasn't being recorded after he destroyed your cell phone was very, very clever. He took the bait and told us everything we needed to know. Okay, but can I really use this if the recording was made without his consent? I asked. So I have nothing to fear? Is that what you're saying? I asked. No, that's not what I mean. We have to be extremely careful. On the way here, I did a little investigation. Chris was kind enough to give me a ride and take care of food. It seems that our man, Kramer, is the son of the founder of their law firm. You already knew that, didn't you? Harry explained. I nodded. But you may not know that his father, Marvin Kramer, had quite a reputation. He wasn't a very good lawyer, but most of the judges in the area were his former classmates. Since he knew everyone personally, it was easy for him to win most of his cases. Unfortunately, his son Derek was a chip off the old block. That's what makes him dangerous. He has an extensive network of very friendly judges, and if he files a lawsuit, it will be extremely difficult to get a ruling in our favor, no matter how illegal his schemes are. Wow. So you're saying that no matter what I do, I'm screwed? No. Not necessarily. It will be difficult to win, but not impossible. I have connections, too. The main thing is to gather enough evidence to make the case irrefutable. I have a plan. But you said the judges will always rule in his favor, I asked. Not if it goes to criminal court. We'll try to make sure that doesn't happen. We were interrupted by a knock at the door. A petite brunette was standing on the porch. Hello, Mr. Morrison? She asked. Oh, hi, Laura, come in, Harry said from behind me. Garrett, this is Laura Foster. Laura is a computer specialist at the private investigation agency we work with. I took the liberty of contacting her after talking to you tonight. We told Laura about the situation and showed her the recording of our conversation, especially the part where Kramer threatened to download compromising material onto my computer. Laura looked into it carefully and then explained the plan of action. Okay, they can do one of two things. Either they'll come here during the day, probably with your wife's help, sit down at your computer and download their dirt, changing the date to make it look like the material was downloaded before Kramer's visit. If they do that, your camera will record everything. Just make sure you turn it on before you leave for work in the morning. She took a small gray box out of her bag. They could also gain remote access to your computer to do their dirty work. I'll install this module in front of your modem so we can record anyone who tries to access your router, as well as what they try to download or upload. Take a few minutes to transfer all personal or confidential data and files to a flash drive and delete everything from your computer. The idea is to prevent them from accessing it. I'll help you with that, if only to make sure you don't leave any hidden data on your computer that you don't know about, Laura explained. She really seemed to know what she was talking about. Garrett joined the conversation. You see, Garrett, right now all you have is a recording to bring him to court for blackmail. Your case will be closed before you can explain anything because in the eyes of the public, it's not a very serious crime, and the judges he knows will most likely be on his side. So the best thing that could happen is if Kramer really did download the illegal material onto your computer and told the police that he has evidence that you possess illegal material. Then we would have proof that everything was done without your involvement. Thanks to the warning Kramer gave us, which you recorded, we will have enough material to bring criminal charges against him. At this stage, none of his judge friends will want to look like they are condoning criminal activity, especially involving child pornography, so they will turn their backs on him. That's cruel and perverted, I said. Yes, but Kramer is like that too. One last thing. Can you do without your computer for the next few days? If Kramer goes ahead with his plan and reports you, the police inspectors will want to check your computer records to find out who actually accessed the illegal files after they were downloaded. If you don't touch your computer, the records will be clean, and that will be even better for us. Also, make sure your cell phone doesn't connect to your home Wi-Fi for the next few days, in case they try to use your phone instead of your computer. Laura installed the tracking module and deleted all confidential information, including my company documents, from my computer and mobile phone. The module will send us copies of all access requests. I'll contact Harry and you as soon as we have anything. Good luck, guys, Laura said before leaving. Okay, now back to more mundane matters, Harry said. Garrett, do you want to file for divorce right now or wait until Daphne gets back to see if we can work things out? No, I want a divorce. Yesterday, if possible. I can't stay married to someone who is so easily manipulated and corrupted by self-proclaimed influential people. No, I want out. No questions asked. Okay, I'll call Claudia Milton tomorrow. She's a family law expert at my firm. She's a good, honest, and effective professional. I'll ask her to call you as soon as possible. You'll like her, Harry said. We talked a little more. I gave Harry the access code to my recording system so he could see what was going on live and access what was stored in the cloud. Christine and Harry left around 11 p.m. I took a Zopiclone and fell asleep half an hour later. The next day at 8:30 a.m., Claudia Milton called me. She had just spoken to Harry, who had told her all the details of my situation. She was waiting for me at her office at 11 a.m. The meeting with her went well. She knew about Derek Kramer's reputation and was very sorry that I had crossed paths with this man of questionable reputation. She assured me that since I had bought the house before meeting Daphne and her name did not appear on the title deed, the house belonged to me. We didn't have any children, so the divorce would be very straightforward. What about my company? Can they force me to sell it and split the money? I asked. Claudia called Harry and asked him to join us. Harry quickly reassured everyone. Don't worry about it. There's a clause in your prenuptial agreement that clearly states that your company belongs to you and she can't claim it. Of course, they'll probably try anyway, but I've checked twice and they don't stand a chance if they go down that route. I left Claudia Milton's office at 12:30 and took care of all the financial matters as she had instructed me. She said there was nothing more I could do at this point, that she would take care of everything, and that Daphne would be served with the notice at her office on Monday morning. I also went to the store to replace my broken cell phone and spent the rest of the weekend working in the garden and catching up on episodes of my favorite TV shows. Part of me was angry at Daphne, but another part still couldn't believe what was happening. I knew that eventually I would mourn the loss of my marriage, but at that moment I was too wound up to feel sadness. I didn't want Daphne to come home on Sunday. I wavered between sleeping in the guest room or sending her to the guest room. There was no way I was going to sleep with that stupid bitch again. In the end, I decided that it was my house, and she was the one who left me, so I wasn't going to give her my bed. She would sleep in the guest room until she found an apartment and moved out. I took all her things and toiletries to the guest room, then went to the hardware store, bought a new lock and key, installed them on my bedroom door, and left the key in my pocket. When I heard that bitch's car pull up the next evening, I turned on the security camera. I saw Daphne kissing her boss for a long time, then getting out of his car and waving to him as he drove away. When she came in, I was reading in the living room. "Hi, honey. How was your weekend?" she asked. She seemed nervous. She tried not to show it, but I could tell she wasn't as calm as she was pretending to be. I didn't even look at her, let alone answer. "Fine. Keep sulking and pouting. Derek was right when he said you'd act just like this, that you don't have the brains to understand my needs or the maturity to accept your inability to satisfy them." She went upstairs. I started counting. 1, 2, 3. "Garrett Morrison? What is this? You put a lock on our bedroom door?" "Correction. My bedroom," I replied calmly. "All your things are in the guest bedroom. You'll sleep there until you find an apartment." What the hell? Wait, I'm telling Derek about this. This wasn't part of the deal. Deal? What deal? I didn't sign or even accept your stupid terms. Either you sleep in the guest room or you're out. Maybe Kramer's wife will find a place for you in her marital bed? She shot me a murderous look. Without saying a word, she rushed into the guest room and slammed the door. I followed her upstairs and shouted through the door, "By the way, what about the agreement? What do I get?" She didn't answer. I went back upstairs. 15 minutes passed before my phone rang. It was a series of text messages from a number I didn't recognize. "What's that I hear, cuckold? You won't let Daphne into her own bedroom? I thought I explained the program to you in simple terms. Even a store monkey like you can understand that." Listen, today I'll turn a blind eye to your childish tantrum and let you cool off. But tomorrow, you'll make Daphne her favorite dinner and apologize to her for your behavior. If you behave yourself for the rest of the week, I'll let her have sex with you next weekend. But if you don't do as I say, you'll find out that my threats are real, very real. So do as I say and don't ask any questions. Is that clear? I couldn't believe my eyes. This guy was on the verge of insensitivity, delusion, and stupidity. I didn't respond, but I took a screenshot of the conversation and sent it to Harry. Harry replied 3 minutes later. "Unbelievable. This guy thinks he's cool, but he's just a world-class idiot. Don't delete the conversation and don't respond to him." Kramer sent a couple more confirmation requests, which I didn't respond to. Eventually, he stopped. I didn't see Daphne again that evening. I went to bed, locking the door and leaving the recording system on. I sent a text message to one of my assistants to say I would be in late the next day. I waited until Daphne had left in the morning before getting up and getting ready. I made myself breakfast and ate it while downloading the recordings made by the system during the night. Daphne didn't leave the guest room until morning. She took a shower in the guest bathroom and left without eating breakfast. But I was surprised that she didn't try to do anything with my computer, as I had expected. I received a message from Claudia Milton. "Hi, Garrett. Just wanted to confirm that the divorce papers will be delivered today at 10 o'clock. I also let Harry know. Anyway, have the best day possible." Before leaving for the store, I double-checked that the system in the house was still recording and that I would receive a notification on my phone if it went off. At 11 a.m., I had a meeting with an architect to discuss the latest changes requested by my current client. Before the meeting, I did a few odd jobs. I expected Daphne to call a few minutes after she received the documents, but nothing happened. At 10:45, I texted Harry that I was surprised Daphne hadn't tried to contact me. "That means she talked to Kramer about the divorce papers. They may already be preparing threats. I'll call Laura. Stay in touch," Harry replied. The meeting went well. I was able to focus with surprising ease. I spent the rest of the day servicing tools and cleaning up the workshop. At 3:12 p.m., I received a notification on my cell phone. I texted Harry that everything was going according to plan. He replied with a thumbs up. I logged in and was able to see and hear what was happening in my house in real time. Daphne entered with a man I didn't know. They went into our home office and turned on my computer. They didn't say a word. It took the man a few minutes to crack my password, after which he inserted a flash drive into my computer and spent a good 10 minutes doing his dirty work. Fortunately, I managed to take clear photos of his face. Daphne went to the guest room and packed her things into trash bags. Her suitcases were in the closet in the bedroom, poor thing. When the man was done, he turned off the computer and told Daphne he was leaving. Daphne finished packing and left the house at 3:56 p.m. Harry called me a few seconds after the recording ended. "Okay, Garrett, now go home and act normal. I think they'll call the police tonight or tomorrow, and an inspector will come to see you. It will take a few hours to get a search warrant, so expect them tomorrow." "Are they going to arrest me?" I asked. "Possibly. But if they arrest you, don't say anything. Don't answer their questions. I've already contacted my good friend Stephen Lindsay. He's a criminal defense attorney. I took the liberty of passing him all the necessary materials, including the recordings. He says it will be the easiest case of the year," Harry replied. I gave Harry the code to turn the alarm on and off if I was arrested. We chatted a little more, then hung up. On the way home, I was almost hysterical. Nothing happened that night. No one from the police came. There was no call from Daphne, no nasty messages from that jerk Kramer. I made myself a sandwich and ate it in front of the TV. I thought about calling my parents and telling them what had happened, but in the end, I decided it was better to wait until the storm had blown over. I wasn't sure my mother would understand anything about hacking into a computer system or videos stored in the cloud. It would only alarm her, and she wouldn't be able to help in this situation. The next day, I was at the store when I received another notification that someone was in the house. I did the same thing I did the day before. I texted Harry and logged into my system. The police broke into my house and tried to disable the alarm. They must have succeeded because I lost the connection. Harry texted me that he had seen everything and sent the photos to Stephen Lindsay. About an hour after the police arrived at my house, 2 more police officers came to my shop and arrested me. They handcuffed me and put me in a police car. They quickly read me my rights and started asking questions, which I refused to answer. When I arrived at the police station, they took my cell phone and wallet and put me in a cell with 5 other guys. Communication was limited. Everyone tried to focus on the tiles on the floor. About 3 hours later, a guard came and took me to an interview room where I was supposed to meet with my lawyer. "What the hell is this?" I asked the guard. "You didn't even tell me who my lawyer is." The guy didn't answer. He left me alone in the room. 10 minutes later, the door opened, and Derek Kramer walked in with a smile as wide as the Golden Gate Bridge. He sat down across from me without saying a word. I looked him in the eye and said nothing. Satisfied that he had established his superiority and made it clear that he was winning the war, he gave me a triumphant look and finally spoke. "Now you see how serious I am?" I didn't answer. "I asked you a question, you little punk. Answer me." Again, silence. "It'll be your word against mine, Morrison. The word of a carpenter against the word of one of the most famous lawyers in town. Guess what's going to happen?" he asked with his usual smirk. He stood up. "Well, looks like you need to think about what I said. We'll talk tomorrow morning. Maybe a night in this cell with your friends will bring you to your senses," he said as he left the room. I was taken back to my cell. By that time, only 4 other guys were left there. In the middle of the day, another man came to see me. I was taken to the same interrogation room. A tall, blond man with a stern face was waiting for me there. His face said, "Don't mess with me." He stood up when I entered. "Good afternoon, Garrett. Nice to meet you. I'm Stephen Lindsay. You can call me Stephen. Harry called me this afternoon and said he couldn't get in touch with you. Considering everything that's happened, we thought you might have been arrested and brought here." I told Stephen everything that had happened that day, including Derek Kramer's threats. Stephen was stunned, but he didn't say anything. "Okay. Tomorrow morning you need to report to the judge. The judge will probably give you a harsh sentence, but don't worry. Harry will take care of everything. I know it's going to be a rough night, but don't lose hope. Harry and I are with you. In the meantime, hang in there. Don't answer any questions. I've officially taken your case, and I'll make sure Kramer doesn't visit you again." The next day, I appeared before the judge. I was charged with possession of child pornography. Of course, I pleaded not guilty. Bail was set at $25,000. I was released early in the day. I was forbidden to leave town, contact my soon-to-be ex-wife, Derek Kramer, or anyone from his office, and I was also forbidden to be alone with anyone under the age of 18. But at least I could work at my store. My cell phone and wallet were returned to me. Stephen invited me to a late lunch, and we chatted some more. I didn't want to say too much to the police yesterday because they have ears everywhere, but yesterday I made a few calls, did some digging, and found something interesting about our friend Derek Kramer. Let me tell you a few things that will put your mind at ease. First, when the police get a search warrant, it takes at least a few hours before they can examine the materials they find and get an arrest warrant. In your case, you were brought here before they had even finished searching your home. Second, you weren't allowed to call me or Harry, but Derek Kramer was allowed to see you. These two factors clearly show that this was all staged, and that's completely illegal. Yes, but Harry says Kramer has all the judges on his hook, I said. Oh, no, not all of them. You know, you can't make that many friends without making enemies, he said with a wink. I have no idea what I'll find at home. I hope my loving wife and her jerk didn't steal everything. Don't worry about that. Harry stopped by right after the police left. He rebooted the system and turned on the recording. No one showed up. I returned to the shop to pick up my car, then drove home to take a well-deserved and much-needed shower. The architect had left a message saying they had updated the plan and received the client's approval. That was good news. It meant I could get back to work the next day and occupy my mind with something else. The house was a mess. They had searched everywhere. Except for the fake computer, I knew they couldn't find anything incriminating. I started cleaning everything up. That night I cried for the first time. Just a week ago, I was a happy man in what I thought was a good marriage. Now I was a suspect in a crime, on the verge of divorce, and a puppet in the hands of my wife's boss. What did I do to deserve this shit? At least I didn't see any reporters. They were probably too busy tearing each other apart over the recently discovered multi-billion-dollar hole in the state budget to pay attention to little Garrett. Finally, at the end of the following week, Stephen called me with some important news. All charges against me had been dropped. And from the looks of it, the inspector leading the investigation wasn't someone to mess with, especially when it came to blackmail. Apparently, he wasn't particularly impressed by Kramer's ploy and made sure that Derek Kramer was charged with blackmail, falsification of evidence, and possession of child pornography in the near future. Daphne was charged with aiding and abetting these crimes. Harry called me 10 minutes after I hung up to invite me to dinner. On the way to Harry's, I got a call from Claudia Milton, our family lawyer. Garrett, Daphne's lawyer called me this afternoon and said she is willing to sign the divorce papers without any changes, but on one condition. She wants to meet with you alone for an hour. She says it can be at my office. Daphne was probably the last person I wanted to see, but I told myself that if this meeting would speed up the divorce, it would be a good investment of my time. I told Claudia to go ahead, and I would meet with Daphne. I had a pleasant evening with Harry and Christine. It was the first truly relaxing evening I'd had in 2 weeks. Christine made coconut shrimp with rice. It was simply divine. When I got home that evening, I felt calm. My meeting with Daphne was scheduled for the following Wednesday. I was nervous about seeing her, even though I had no reason to be, since I was the victim of this pathetic conspiracy. When I arrived, I was directed to Claudia's office, who asked me to come in a few minutes early to talk. Garrett, I don't know what she wants to tell you, but I have to warn you. She's facing criminal charges. Don't give her any ammunition. Don't say anything that could be used against you if you have to testify in court. We don't have the right to search her for microphones or recording devices, so keep in mind that she may be recording you. Okay, thanks for the warning, I said. I was led into a small interrogation room. Daphne was already there. I expected to see the same bitchy, arrogant Daphne I had seen in previous weeks, but the Daphne sitting in that room was a broken woman. I felt a wave of compassion for her, but the vivid memory of her little show with Kramer before I left for the weekend quickly dispelled any positive feelings I might have had for her. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me, Garrett. What can you say to me after everything you've done to me? She began to cry. Garrett, I'm so ashamed of what I did to you. You're a wonderful husband. You don't deserve this. I was completely under Derek Kramer's influence. When I found out that the charges against you had been dropped and that we would most likely be tried together, I was in such shock that the spell was broken. I can't look at myself in the mirror, and all for the most pathetic sex of my life. For the next 30 minutes, she continued to improvise, analyzing her behavior. She didn't ask me any questions or try to get any information out of me. I understand that it's over between us, Garrett. If I were you, I would do the same thing and file for divorce. So no, I don't blame you for divorcing me. I want to tell you that I quit my job. I told Derek Kramer that I don't want to talk to him anymore. I moved back in with my parents. I told them everything. They're mad at me. Let's just say the atmosphere at home is far from warm and cozy." I looked at her, saying nothing. To be honest, I couldn't think of anything clever to say in response. She had ruined everything, and now she would have to deal with it. "The next few months, maybe even years, are going to be tough for me, Garrett. I don't know what life has in store for me. The only thing I hope is that in a few years, when all is said and done, I'll have a chance to at least remain friends with you." "That's too far away, Daphne, too far. We'll see when we get there. Good luck." I got up and left the room. Part of me still loved her, but I couldn't be with her again. I had dreamed of revenge, but events had made her an unhappy woman. She had learned her lesson, and there was no point in continuing my revenge. Daphne was able to strike a deal with the prosecution in exchange for her full cooperation with the authorities against Derek Kramer. She moved to another city. I have lost touch with her since then. When the charges against Kramer were made public, 2 more people came forward against him and filed complaints of blackmail. As a result, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Since the police had recordings of all my conversations with him, I didn't even have to testify. After Kramer was convicted, I filed a civil suit against him and his firm, or what was left of it. I managed to get $2 million, a significant portion of which went to Harry. I pretended to be outraged. But it was a joke. Harry had helped me so much that I was happy to give him some of the money he deserved. My company is thriving. I am in the final stages of negotiations to acquire a manufacturer of specialty doors. It will be a good addition to what we do. I now have 6 employees, and they are like a second family to me. A few days after my divorce was finalized, I was invited to a barbecue hosted by Harry and Christine. I had never met Christine's younger sister before. Katie and I hit it off right away. We've been dating for a few weeks now. We'll see where life takes us. A few weeks after the civil case against CBH and Kramer was settled, I visited Kramer in prison. I told the guard that I needed to talk to Kramer and that I didn't want him to leave until I was done. The guy smiled and said I could relax. I could tell Kramer anything I wanted. Kramer walked in and, seeing me, turned to leave. The guard ordered him to sit down and listen. "What do you want, cuckold?" he began. I looked at him with a sly smile. "Oh, you threw the first punch? Interesting. I hear your wife Jessica is filing for divorce. Maybe we should invite her over for dinner and give her a night she'll never forget." "You fucking bastard! If you do that—" "Don't waste your pathetic saliva, asshole. I already did that. The little hummingbird she has tattooed on her left thigh is just adorable, isn't it, Horns?" I asked with a smirk. He blushed like a beetroot. He was about to threaten me again. But at the last moment, he realized that it wouldn't help his case. "Anyway, I didn't come here to talk about Jessica. I just wanted to tell you that you're an idiot who needs to be reminded from time to time that he's an idiot. You see, threatening someone in their own home and explaining in advance what you're going to do to them if they don't comply with your ridiculous demands isn't very smart, is it? Even a carpenter knows that. Let's just say you outsmarted me this time." I started laughing. He boiled over. "Oh, and wasn't it you who told me that possessing certain materials is illegal for an ordinary person like me, but perfectly acceptable for an influential person like you? I admire your power so much. I bow down before your greatness. Maybe it's your jumpsuit. It suits you so well." Kramer was so angry that he was close to a nervous breakdown. "Before I go, I want to give you something that Jessica and Daphne think you might find useful someday," I said. I handed him the folded piece of paper. He unfolded it and looked at it for a few seconds. "What the hell is this?" he asked. "Here's an example," I laughed. "It's a drawing of female genitalia." I pointed to the exact spot on the drawing. "They wanted you to know what to do right here,"